I mean, it was just so fucking drastic from when she had started not feeling good and getting sick, like in February, to then, because she ended up not looking like herself.
Hmm.
I mean, she had gotten gaunt in the face, bone structure was more prominent, but like you said, then the body is swelling as it's basically breaking down. And I looked at her, and like my grandmother, she had passed in the hospital like before we had gotten there. But even seeing her, and she was buried, and seeing her in the casket, I'm just kind of like, that doesn't look like my grandmother. And I felt like at that moment when my mom passed, I was looking at her and I'm like, that does not look like my mom.
Yeah. My sister even said to me after my mom passed, she says, it, it's amazing. The body changes
Mm-hmm.
like immediately. It's like a shell. We are
Mm-hmm.
just a shell. Like who we are is not, is inside. It's gone.
Yeah.
And my sister goes, Mommy's not in there anymore. Like she was gone. It wasn't my
Mm-hmm.
mother anymore. It was just like the
Yeah.
body changes.
Yeah.
Like I remember your mom, because I had seen your mom before she passed away here at home,
Well, yeah,
and
we had
she
her at,
lost so much weight
yeah.
in such a short amount of time. So when I went to the hospital, she was skin and bones.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because we have some pictures of all of us at New Year's Eve
Yeah.
just from this year. And it's kind of like I said, that was kind of like the last time that she kind of was chatty and talking with everybody, because in February, once she started not feeling good and everything was hitting her really hard, yeah, she wasn't eating. And I said that was the hard thing in reading a lot of articles and looking up a lot of stuff after the fact when she passed was, shit I kicked myself for. It's like, there's the 5 stages of grief, but then there's the little bonus stages, which guilt is one of them. And that hit because I was like, how did I not know to keep an eye out for the fact that she did stop eating as much. And even if I was trying to make her something she really enjoyed, and she wouldn't, or she would
Yeah.
just have a little taste here and there, and they say that that's a sign that a lot of times, whether it's already just emotionally within their head or something like metaphysical that is known that their body is shutting down, that they'll do. They stop eating, they withdraw, which
Unless
she
you're
did.
Polish like my family, we keep eating to
And then you just keep eating.
the end. We eat ourselves to
Oh,
death.
I wish she would have kept eating. That would have been so good. But just things I wish I would have paid more attention to. Not that it would have made a huge amount of difference, because she was set in her ways. She knew what she was or wasn't going to do. So it's like I couldn't force her to exercise. I couldn't force her to eat right.
Right.
She was just going to be the way she wanted to be. But knowing, a little more ahead of time, that there are certain things that end up happening. And what's crazy, it's the same like when we have pets, and that was the one thing that I think has kind of like saved the one dog right now that we have. We have 2 corgis, and Minnie, as you know, has cancer. And I noticed her doing the same thing. Like once my mom had passed, it was within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, because we thought the dog was depressed without my mom here,
Right.
and just that heavy breathing and everything. And I'm like, that's not normal. She hasn't been running around in the yard. She shouldn't be this hot. And she's panting so much. And took her to the vet. And it's like, okay, no, she's got lymphoma. And so dealing with that, the doctors jumped on it so fast and said, okay, here's the steroids. Let's get the swelling down. Here's the chemo, the cancer doctor that can help with the dog. And it was so fast getting her in, so fast getting her the help she needed and the medical care, and just being aware of all of that, because sadly, like I said, it was after the fact when my mom passed that
Right.
I read all this stuff, and now that's in my head. If you start breathing fast,
Always
I'm
breathing
gonna
fast.
like drag
Minnie,
your ass
Minnie,
to the doctor.
Minnie was the one that was by your mom's side, right? That
No,
one.
that's Bailey.
Oh, Bailey was the one by your mom's
And
side.
Bailey is the one that we think can sense if there's sickness or something going on in your body. Because also, like when Minnie had the cancer, Bailey goes up and will like run her nose in the areas like where she was having
So
the gland
I
issue.
gotta stay away
So
from
I'm like,
Bailey.
that's everyone. Everyone says, everyone's like, okay, we just got to make sure that Bailey does not come anywhere near us because she sensed it the first time my mom had
Wow.
cancer, and she picked it up the second time. Like I knew before my mom even went to the doctor how Bailey would lay with her on the
You
couch,
told me that. I remember.
and it was like that actually made me tear up and start crying. And that was that thing where I didn't want my mom to see that I was crying and upset. So I would be like crying in a different room because I kind of knew it in that instance because Bailey was cluing me into the fact that this is not good again
Right.
and it may be back. Speaking of Bailey,
Speaking of.
speaking of the loudmouth Bailey, but
Right.
yeah, it's Bailey.
Oh,
So Bailey is the one. So
the one I
yes,
need to stay away from.
everyone needs to stay away from Bailey.
Well, it was funny when I came here this morning. Minnie was on my lap, like resting the head, and that thought went through my head. I'm like, oh my god,
Does the
she's
dog
cuddling
sense
with me. That
something?
she said something about me.
No.
Oh,
Minnie's a dip. She's adorable. She's a dip. She doesn't care. She'll take that with anybody. Bailey's the one. If she comes around and she starts sniffing a little bit and just sits there and gives you like the ears back a little bit look, it's like, don't do that to me, dog. Because sometimes she gives me weird looks. I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? I'm like, stop it. Is it because you're old? Stop it. Feels like she's not doing anything. I said, yes, she is. She's giving me weird looks. I don't like it. But yeah, it's just things I wish I would have, I would have been a little more aware of and pushed maybe a little bit more on my mom.
well, I think about her going for that 6 month exam and then not letting her have
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm.
mammogram. In hindsight, it's like, why didn't we fight for that? Why didn't we
Yeah.
make it? But you go to a doctor and you think, oh, well, they're the ones that know everything.
Well, the thing is it's so frustrating because you feel like your hands are tied because you can't force them to get you in. But I'm like, there should be like some little special code book of the words you can say that will actually help them push it through
Right.
so that you can get the care that you need to. And it also, sadly, in this country depends on, and I mean, I'm sure other places aren't any better, but it depends on like what insurance you have. Are you HMO? Are you PPO? And on certain plans, you're waiting,
Yeah.
waiting for results, waiting to be able to even get an appointment. That was the thing that frustrated me was my mom's doctors. Like she had the team from the first round of chemo and everybody that was taking care of her. So it's kind of like you guys know what's at stake. You're cancer doctors, you know this can come back. So if she's having an issue, she should have been in right away. And when she was in Virginia, I said, call the doctor, make the appointment now, because generally it would take her 2 to 3 months
It's
to
ridiculous.
get in. And I'm like, she's already a cancer patient with you. So don't wait. It's like get her in. If it's it, I think there were 3 or 4 doctors that were part of the one group that was basically monitoring her levels and her white cells and her counts and all of that. It's kind of like then let somebody else see her. But that's the other thing that started getting me really frustrated at the hospital because her main doctor never once came over to check on her or had rounds when she was there, which I find hard to believe because she was there every day in March practically except one. And the other 2 doctors would come in. The one I didn't like, he looked like he was a football coach at a high school or something, but his attitude and bedside manner was shit. And then the other one, it was just like he was just trying to rush through. And I don't know if sometimes when they're that way too, especially with an older patient, it's because they're an older patient. So I've said in some of the other video stuff that I was putting together is like you have to be an advocate. And like you just said at the beginning, like you have to be an advocate for yourself and push through, but you also have to be an advocate for your loved ones. And especially like for me with my mom getting older, she wouldn't tell them everything that was going on with her medically or what the truth was. Because when I went with her to the one appointment, he had said, how long has this been going on? She's like, oh, about a week. And I'm like, no, 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 no. She's been feeling like this since probably starting around the end of January. In January, she's been out of breath for at least a couple months. And now she's had this pain. She can't even sit up. So she wasn't going to be telling the exact truth when she was in at that doctor's office. And I think it's just, you know, either they don't want to admit that there's something could be wrong and that they're sick, or they're just at that stage of life
Right.
where
How
they're
long was your mom in the hospital?
She went in, actually, she went in on, it was like March 2nd or 3rd. And then she passed away on the 23rd. So it's about 20 days.
That's a long
And she
time.
only got to come home for one day.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, and then she was in such pain, you took her back.
Yeah, we had to call the ambulance, which I was surprised that you didn't see the ambulance
No.
lights and stuff running, but the ambulance because she couldn't move. And she didn't want to. At that moment she gave up.
Yeah,
And
I
I
remember you
knew
saying
I
that.
knew that was it.
Yeah.
But it is like a really hard road.
Yeah.
How do you so what year was it that your mom had passed? 2006 or
2003,
2003?
2002, 2003, something like that. Yeah.
How do you feel like now? Was that like 20, 22
20
years
years after. Yeah.
passing?
Uh, you still think about them. It's funny. The older I'm getting,
Hmm.
sometimes I'll look in the mirror and I'll see them in me, and it freaks me out. I'm like, ah, you know.
Not
Uh,
for nothing. Sometimes I look and I'm like, wait, am I getting the little baggy things under my eyes like my
yeah.
mom? Ah.
I mean, of course, it's easier because so much time has passed.
Yeah.
But there's still days where it's like, oh, I want to call my mom up on the phone, or
Yeah.
I don't have any regrets. That's the one thing. You know how people say, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that.
Yeah.
I, I don't feel my sister and I have anything like that. Like, we knew our parents loved us.
Hmm.
We know that they knew we loved them.
Yeah.
Um, like, that's all you really need. Like, I
Yeah.
don't have any. I'm not holding any resentment or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things they did
Hmm.
that I don't agree with. You're like, what do you mean? Slap you across the face. Like, speaking this again, this is the kind of family I come from. I remember, like, my sister and I had both moved out of the house. We were like living on our own. I came in from New York.
Hmm.
She came from her townhouse in a couple towns over or whatever. And we're saying my mom was doing the dishes, and my sister and I always argue. And my sister, like, said, F you to me. My mother, without missing a beat, stopped, dried her hands, went over and went, whoosh, slapped my sister across the face. I'm like, oh my God, here we are,
Oh
like freaking
wow.
30 some years old. And my mother's like, you never heard your father and I say those words. You're not going to say them in my house. And then she just went back to her dishes. I was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? So there are things that I think our parents, I think everyone, you do the best
Yeah.
with what you know, and things were
Hmm.
different back then.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with hitting a kid.
I don't know. Some of them need a little bang.
Yeah,
Little bit of discipline, a little bit of respect. Come on.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're creating a society of a bunch of wusses these days. No, seriously.
No, I kind of agree with you there. I'm just
Like,
laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, said perfectly.
I've got some friends. Their daughter went to this, like, artsy fartsy school, like in Santa Monica, Venice, California.
Hmm.
I forget the name of it. It's like someone,
Don't say it because we don't want to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
in
yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
We don't want to get in trouble.
And the school, if the child doesn't want to come in that day, they don't have to.
Oh, what the hell?
If there's someone in the class who needs to look out of the window, cannot face the way the kid, and it's just like, you have to cater to the child. And I said to them, these kids are going to freaking grow up, get a job, and be like, oh, I can't sit in this cubicle. I need a
I
window
need a
office.
window
Like,
seat and I need to have a private bathroom
oh, I
and
don't feel like coming in
I
today.
need a 2 hour lunch break and oh, you know what? Can I leave at 4 o'clock?
I don't get it.
Entitled and pampered and yeah,
You know,
coddled.
yeah, when I was a kid, there were losers. You just lost. You're not, everyone can't be a winner. So
Yeah.
freaking fight and become a, now you give an award for everything. Oh, for the most,
You tied your shoes.
yeah,
Here.
seriously, like, I don't know. I just think we're creating a
Yeah.
society of a bunch of wussy little wimpy.
Yeah.
Am I horrible for saying
No, because I
Sure.
think you're not alone.
that?
You are definitely not alone in that.
Oh, I don't know.
Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos.